Hello, I'm Debbie Foreman, and welcome back to another episode of GAPCAST. This is the space where we talk about gaps. We do a lot of reactions. The world of gaps. What are gaps? How do they hinder our progress? What are the taboos associated to them? Often I do reactions, and then we go into the frameworks. Well, I'm going to jump right into it today because we have a special episode. This one's going to be harder for me to talk about, and I might get a little, stuttery on it. I don't stutter, but as I try to think through it. Because today we're going to be talking about the orgasm gap. Now, what qualifies me to talk about this and what does not qualify me to talk about this? Like I said, it's not easy. The orgasm gap in women over 35 years of age. I was sent an article. I'm going to react to this article, and we're going to give credit where credit is due. We're going to dive into that article in a minute, and we're going to keep coming and going from that article into different frameworks to walk through it. But let's start with the narrative, okay? And the narrative is the following. It was sent to me because it's an orgasm gap. And what do I do for the last 35 years? I work with gaps. I work with the systemic gaps, closing those gaps with individuals, enterprises, schools, audiences, so on and so forth, teams. Okay, how do we close systemic gaps through framework? What do we know about gaps? Gaps hinder progress, stagnation, qualification, competition, results. We're going to get back to that in a little bit. What's usually behind these bigger gaps that keep us from where we are to where we want to be? Taboos. So I'm going to start with, when I say my qualification, I'm not trying to do a bio qualification here, but what I want to do is just show you, first of all, why I feel like this needs to be talked about. But let's start with my own journey. Like I said, I'm 57. I was divorced 3 years ago. And a year ago, I entered a new relationship at the age of 56. Well, because I'd been married for so long, from the time that I entered this new relationship, it was the first relationship that I had been in for almost 18 years. And I was entering that at the age of 56. Now, I am not going to get into personal details. I believe a private life is to remain private. But I do want to bring this up from my personal journey as taboo and the gaps that were associated to them in myself, because I know I am not alone in this, all right? And it's not easy to talk about because at the age of 56, I met a wonderful man. I think in today's, as I'm recording this, the man I want to be with forever. Now, luck struck in my field. I was insecure. I was terrified. I was ashamed. I knew my body had been changed for the last almost 20 years. I don't feel comfortable in my own skin, feeling old. But there was this wonderful man. How did luck strike? Well, this wonderful man is a doctor specialized in women's health. Had it not been for him, I would not be where I am today. I would not have closed the orgasm gap that hinders women's lives 35, 45, 55 and on, okay? Because I went through this journey, because it's made a difference in my life, because I believe that as knowledgeable as I am, I didn't have the knowledge to be able to overcome all of these taboos that were inside of my head, even though I'm a specialist in closing gap taboos. Why? Because I didn't have all of the scientific knowledge. And this article that I'm going to be sharing with you today addresses so much of what I had to go through and I had to learn. Now, this knowledge is one part of it, but on the other side, there's the other side of it, which are the gaps that are caused by taboos. So let me walk you through this. I'm going to start off just a little bit here. So first of all, when I say qualify myself, this is not a self-promo, but literally, what do? I do keynotes to introduce gap taboos, overlooked truths that no one else is addressing. So for all my 35 years of experience, never once had I addressed the taboo of women's orgasms. Never. I'm not qualified medically. I'm not qualified scientifically. I didn't have the knowledge for that. And now I think it's a topic that I'd like to kind of bring to the surface. Let's see where it goes on this episode. Yes, but because I'm qualified to talk about gap taboos and overlooked issues, I feel like this article that was sent to me, and let's move over to this article real quick. All right. First of all, credit to where credit is due. Dr. Sarah Sazal, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. And this is the article that was sent to me. We are going to link this article up. Please read the article in its entirety. Take the article, throw it into your AI, whether it be Gemini, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever it is, and break down this information into the parts that you aren't aware of, that you didn't know, that you need more information so you can become more informed. And then take that information to your doctor and really hound on it, because it really makes a difference. So what is the article? The female body was not designed for the sex most women are having after 35. I'm not going to read it line by line, but there's certain parts and portions I want to pull out here. We may have a libido problem. We definitely have a knowledge problem. Okay? A menu that was never designed for female biology. Most women have never been offered the right diagnosis. Well, I'm not going into the medical portion of diagnosis, but I am going into the technical assessment that we have a knowledge problem. And that knowledge problem is most associated to the taboos, And we're going to get into that in a minute. Now, I think there's an amazing statistic here that she starts off with down here. The orgasm gap is not a mystery. No gaps are mysteries. Most gaps are profoundly associated to taboos. Okay? And once again, I'm going to repeat this probably 20 times throughout this session. Gaps are most represented by a problem set. The problem being stagnation. You're putting in a lot of effort and you're not getting to where you were meant to be or where you want to be. So stagnation. So look at a problem set of female orgasms over 35, stagnation. You might be putting in a lot of effort in your intimate life, but you're not reaching that orgasm. So there's a gap. The next qualifying problem within the problem set, so we have stagnation. The next is qualification. Well, because our bodies change from 35 plus, 35, 45, 55, 65 and on, that qualification, we might just not be qualified with the information that we need, which is what the opening thing right here, right up here. We don't have the knowledge. So we're not qualified with the knowledge that we need. Stagnation, qualification. The next is competition. Good Lord. I'm 45, I'm 55, I'm 65. And who am I competing against as a woman? I am competing against women younger than me, where reaching orgasm is easier, and men want to be with women who are reaching pleasure. That's as simple as that. And the last of the four in the problem set, stagnation, qualification, competition, results. There you go. The gap in results. In the infinity cycle. The results are not there because your body's changing. You don't have the information. You haven't talked about your doctor or hasn't brought this up with you. It may be talked superficially, but behind all of that is still the taboo. And the results aren't there, maybe because you don't have the information. The results aren't there, maybe because you're hindered by the taboo, because it's hard to talk about. So today I decided to open the conversation. So here we go. In the article, I'm going to jump back and forth a couple times into the article. In the article, what do we have? Here is a statistic. The numbers are not subtle. Heterosexual men report orgasm during partnered sex 95% of the time, but heterosexual women only 65% of the time. However, lesbian women, 86% of the time. Well, the gap, here we go, we're talking about a gap. The gap between heterosexual women and lesbian women is 21 percentage points. Well, is that because women understand women's bodies more? Is it because men don't have the same information that women have? Is it because women have information that is too taboo or too difficult to discuss? Or is it a combination of everything? So right now, before I go on into this article, I want to first, let me ask you, if this resonates with you right now, whether you're a man with your partner, whether you're a woman with your partner, if you're over 35 and there is an orgasm gap that you're feeling, start commenting. Let me know. Is it a lack of technical knowledge, scientific knowledge? Is it because it's taboo? Is it because it's hard to talk about? Is it because you don't know how to address it? Let me know. All right. Now, let's move on. And I want to go over here. And I'm on the wrong slide there. All right, give me a minute here. Okay. As Dr. Sazal mentions, there's a gap. And we know the word gap, but I want to run you through a little bit of vocabulary and definitions. What is a gap? A gap is a difference, a disparity in attitudes, perceptions, character, or development. Okay. When we talk about orgasms, you're going to say, wait, but where's the orgasm in this definition? Well, in one part, it may be in the attitude, in the way our attitude towards ourselves. Things that used to be easier or harder, and so because it's harder, we retract or we withdraw. Maybe it's a perception that because I'm getting older, it's just never going to be as good. And in development, we're talking about knowledge. The developmental knowledge that we need as we progress age-wise. Well, what happens with gaps? They create a lack of confidence or understanding perceived as creating a problem. And I'm going to talk about that firsthand. I just said it. At 56, I didn't have the confidence. And because I didn't have the confidence, I was creating a problem, not just for me, but for my partner. Because I was embarrassed, because I was scared, because I didn't know what to do, because information wasn't there. Well, the information's there. I didn't have it. And for however specialized I am in addressing gap taboos, for however much I have the frameworks, I didn't realize that I could apply that to myself. And I want you to be able to get through this because it does create a problem. It creates a problem in intimacy. It creates a problem in reaching the best orgasms possible. And we're going to learn that through the article in a minute. But let's move forward a little bit. Moving on, let's move on to taboos. We're going to go into the definition again. Now, taboos are nouns and adjectives as described, let's say, in the dictionary. Taboos, we see them, we feel them, we hear them, we perceive them. A taboo is something that is not acceptable to say, not acceptable to mention, not acceptable to do. Not acceptable to who? Who determines that something is not acceptable? But we learn that often from early childhood. It could be from religious backgrounds, it could be from customs, traditions, or the fact that sometimes information is given to us scientifically, like sex ed in California schools that my daughter went through. They're given the information, but they're not given the tools to be able to communicate them clearly and to express them. Taboos are prescribed by society as improper or unacceptable. So if something is unacceptable, it's improper, and it creates shame, and you're taught this, then what's going to happen? That taboo is going to create a negative impact, a hidden impact. On one side, you feel like you're becoming invisible or uncomfortable and paralyzed. I was paralyzed. I was like, I want to be with this person so badly, but I can't. I'm scared. I'm uncomfortable. I'm old. I feel invisible, and I didn't know how to address it. And then it threatens our self-image. And I started exposing my own weaknesses. How can this be? Do I not have the right to an adult life again? And then it triggers shame. Shame because everybody else around me is having a better life than I am because they have the right to it. It triggers shame because I don't have the tools or the knowledge to be able to overcome this. That is the world of gaps and the taboos associated to them. Now let's go back to the article for a minute. Before I move on to the 5 points, because I really want to get through them, I am coming back to reinforce the world of gaps. Now, what you're seeing here is one of the pages in the ebook. We're going to link the ebook so you can grab it. And there's going to be, right after that, another dynamic that we use. And I'm going to tie that back into the 5 points that she brings up also. But I want you to take a look at this, and I want you to think about this before I go to the 5, okay? And then, like I said, a gap is a disparity. It's the distance between, and here you go. The distance between what you perceive and what you know. Now, before I read the 5, you might have a perception about female orgasms. And now after I read the 5, you're going to know something that you didn't know. And is this simple knowledge? Are these 5 points that she brings up enough to close that perception gap? Because now you have knowledge that you didn't have before. Now let's go on to the next one. A gap between what you intend and what you achieve. Well, what are you intending in your intimate life? Whether you're the male partner or female partner, or I'm heterosexual, but I'm focusing on the male-female here with women over 35 because of that percentual gap difference, that 21% gap. What do you intend with your intimate life? Pleasure. What do you achieve? Now, when we go back to those 5, are you going to be able to achieve what you were intending? Better, easier, more pleasurable? The skills you possess and the skills you lack. Well, in this case, the skills is knowledge. With that knowledge, adaptation, requiring new techniques, let's say, in your intimate life. And maybe they were lacking, but with those 5 points we're about to get to, are you going to be closing a gap? The effort you give and the results you get. Remember I said the problem set is stagnation, qualification, competition, and results. Stagnation, the effort you give, and you keep trying and keep trying and keep trying, but it isn't like it used to be. And you keep trying, but it's just not there. And then you don't get the results that you expected. With these 5 points that we're about to look at, are you closing the gap? Are you going to be putting in less effort with more explosive orgasmic results? I hope so. Now we're going to go back to the 5 facts. Here they are. The 5 facts about the clitoris that mainstream medicine buried. Now, she put this in the past tense. I'm going to say that mainstream medicine keeps buried, that mainstream society shuns away from because it's taboo. Well, let's go. Fact number 1, the clitoris is not small. It is enormous. Okay, read through this. Did you know this? And if you didn't, you now do. Read through it, take that knowledge, and bring it into point number 2, because that's the first gap. Number 2, the clitoris contains more nerve endings than any structure in the human body. Did you know this? If you didn't, now you do. Read through it. But let's talk about nerve endings. I mean, if you just run your hand, or somebody do this, you're like, woo, you get a tickle or something like that. Imagine where you have the most nerve endings. Okay? Read through it. Another gap. Piece of information. The clitoris is the same organ developmentally as the penis, but not an equivalent. Did you know this? If you didn't, you do now. Are we starting to close a gap? Read through it. The clitoris becomes erect. See, here she says, same organ developmentally as the penis. The clitoris becomes erect, and that process takes time. Now, all I can say at the age of 57, time in intimate relationships is different. And a lot of the time, and I'm going to stop for here for 1 sec. One of the big areas that I work with systemic gaps in organizations and with teams is time management. Just because something used to take X amount of time, it may take Y amount of time now, whether it's a strategy, tool, an operation, or a people process. Time can change. How we use time and space changes. And as we get older, the time and space required for women over 35, 45, 55, 65, and so on, that becomes different, but we're relating back to the same time. And we create gaps because we create a standard pattern of an expectation where time and space now has to be remanaged. Well, isn't there anything better in the world? More time? More space? Okay, think about that. Read through it. And here we go. This one, I am ashamed to admit, but I am admitting, I did not know. I did not know until last year with a partner who's a doctor specialized in women's health. I didn't know this. That the clitoris grows throughout life. This is a two-parter here. A, the clitoris grows throughout life. B, the clitoris is largest after menopause. Well, fuck me dead. All right? Literally, holy macaroni. If this is a truth that is so withheld, why is medicine withholding this? Why don't we go to the doctors we're going through menopause and say, hey, let me tell you what's about to happen. We got some good news for you. You're going to need a little bit more time, a little bit more space. You're going to, those nerve endings that are there, but let me give you some good news. Because, I mean, menopause doesn't usually come with good news. Well, here it is. Why is this not talked about? Now, I think this is one of the most important parts here. Because our bodies change. Changing bodies. And a lot of the times the taboos associated to us bring us to body shaming. It brings us to a lack of confidence. Oh my God, I'm not like I used to be. Gosh, no, you're not like you used to be. You got something better now. Nobody talks about it. I didn't know. All right, now we're going to go back. Another dynamic that we use a lot. Let me explain this dynamic. It's in the ebook also. You can, like I said, download it. It's all yours. But let me talk about this for a minute, what this was designed for, and then how you can adapt this, okay? When I'm leaving the world of orgasms, I'm going back to systemic gaps in the workplace, okay, and for careers. But this model, this assignment works just substituting the information, okay? So what was this designed for? The World Economic Forum tells us that there's a new set of skills that are required for the job market between now and 2030, and they're constantly updating it. And these skills put us into a great divide between acquired, what did we acquire as knowledge, and what is required. Now, those 5 points. What knowledge did you acquire previous to this episode? And what is required for women over 35 to close that orgasm gap? Acquired knowledge, you may not have acquired everything you needed, and what is required. Now, when we apply this in the workforce for the World Economic Forum skills for the future, I'm going to read through this just because some of them actually also apply. Because what the Dr. Sazal has given us on that article are acquired and required medical knowledge for the orgasmic world of women over 35. But it doesn't necessarily break the gap taboos. It doesn't necessarily shatter, and it doesn't necessarily give you the tools to be able to confront it, okay? The job force, the work environment, the top 10 required skills for the future, and for the present to the future, are analytical thinking and innovation. Well, let's look at this from those 5 skills. Now let's take that assignment, the acquired information and required for women over 35 to close the orgasmic gap, okay? And just real quick, remember, acquired, did you know? Did you learn? Is it required? Okay? Now, let's, on the hypothesis that all of these 5 points are required knowledge to improve our orgasmic sex lives, and that it's required to be able to have a scientific, technical knowledge to be able to talk to our partners with, okay? So, did you know, had you learned, that the clitoris is not small and isn't enormous? Did you know this? Now you do. Is that gap closing? Did you know that the clitoris contains more nerve endings than any other structure in the human body? Did you have this acquired knowledge? And now you know it's required knowledge to help you close that gap. Did you know that the clitoris is the same organ developmentally as the penis, but not in equivalent? If you didn't know it, now you know it. You're going to start closing that gap because it's required knowledge to be able to move forward. Did you know that the clitoris becomes erect and that process takes time? Let's go back for a sec. The clitoris becomes erect because it's the same organ developmentally as the penis. And it takes time. Did you know that it becomes erect and that time is going to be changing as you get older? If you didn't know this, now you do. Are you closing that gap? And did you know that the clitoris grows throughout life? A, did you know this? And B, that it is largest after menopause. Did you have this acquired information? You've just acquired it. And of course, this is required information to close the gap. Okay? So as we move through this, I want to bring up one more point. Okay? Let me see if I can work through this. We're going to be launching here in Los Angeles after the summer a series of workshops for women in the sandwich generation. Is this workshop about sex? No. Is it about intimacy? No. Is the workshop about orgasm? Definitely not, because none of us are qualified for that. What is this workshop for? It's for women in the sandwich generation to build their legacies by design. Okay? Impact legacy. What impact do you want to leave in life? Financial legacy, wealth generation, and finally, family and generational legacy, from generation to generation through the storytelling and the archiving of memories. Okay? Now, when we were putting this together, it's me and two other women, and we'll put this link in so you can go through it also. But what we were looking at, and one of the areas, and Dr. Sazal, we would love to have you with us if we can, or to put into the, we're creating a content library with content, important content, and health and wellness is part of it. So if you're part of just to recognize what stage of life that you're in, that sandwich generation, and how that really affects us as women. Because when we take these factors that play into it, it plays into our intimate lives also. So this stage of life is unlike anything that came before it. You're supporting aging parents on one side, emotionally, logistically, financially. Oh, God, that wears you out. So when we look at the question of time, we just need more time to be able to relax in our intimate lives. You're still needed by children or young adults finding their way. It's so demanding. So we need to be able to have more time and space. You're carrying professional responsibility, leadership, or business on your own. We're on autopilot, and we keep going and going and going and going. So what does that article kind of refer back to in the orgasm gap? Well, there's a technical part of it, there's the taboo part of it, but there's the autopilot part where we assume that everything's going to still be the same as it was because we're still the same woman that we were, but we're not the same woman that we were. We just learned. Parts of us are changing, parts of us are growing. But most of all, in between all of it, we're navigating physical changes, identity shifts, and a quiet question we rarely have time to ask. When is it my turn? When is it my turn? When is it my turn? When is it my turn to gain the confidence to address difficult topics to talk about? When is it my turn to be acknowledged that I'm going through changing body, that I'm on autopilot, that I've been doing my career for 35 years, and that I'm ready to build a legacy? And part of my legacy is the right to be able to have an intimate, orgasmic, explosive, fantastic life. So I'm going to end this with the following. Are you ready? Did you learn something new today? Comment. What did you learn? Let us know. Do you want to delve into this more? And when I say delve into this, I'm going to be very specific. Do you want us to bring experts in women's health and just technical information that makes it easier to learn without maybe having to go to your doctor? It's a possibility. I'd have to look into it. Do you want to learn the techniques of how to shatter the taboos? Because we talked about what the taboos are and how they affect us, but I didn't go into the frameworks of how perception, how I perceive myself, others perceive me. How do I communicate that? What frameworks are there? There are simple techniques when it's hard to bring up taboo subjects, the hints and tricks that we can give that you can throw into a conversation without having to be as direct, and to be able to open it up and to be able to guide conversations. Is that a framework or techniques that you'd like to learn? And if so, is it about the taboo in itself? Is it about the biological anatomical part? Let me know. Would you like to delve into how our intimate lives, or the inactivity and inactive intimate life, also creates gaps? Because we're ignoring something as vital, as important as drinking water, having a good meal and a good night's sleep, and doing our exercise. I'm really curious, because I know that my journey was, I struggled in the beginning, as I had mentioned. My life has changed because I've overcome this. I don't want anyone out there to give up a quality of life just because of a lack of information, taboos, fear factors. And I would like to help all of you close this gap. Let me know, comment, open the dialogue, and let's see how far we can take it. Once again, I thank you for allowing me this private space, this open space. I hope some of this has brought something to you, and I hope that, let us know, did something get better in your life today because of this? My name is Debbie Foreman. Welcome back to another episode. Thank you for being here.